Hello Magic players, this is Steve from Untapped Games, and we're gonna open a 2015 core set booster box. I am excited about this set, so let's see what we can get. Personally, I'm hoping for Planeswalkers, as usual, and I guess on the second on my hope list is some of those cool legendary creatures. There's a new sliver, like a head sliver, that I'm looking for, and there's a couple of really cool. Specifically, there's like a green legendary that's really neat. But yeah, I mean, I haven't really looked into this set that much, so some of this is going to be new to me. I did play in the pre-release. I did pretty well. I actually had enough red to do a mono red deck. This was in my deck. Lightning Strike is reprinted. I also had this, two of those. This guy was really good in pre-release. Shadow Cloak Vampire. So we got an Evolving Wilds. We got Hot Soup, which is a new card. It's equipped creature can't be blocked. Whenever equipped creature is dealt damage, destroy it. Which is, you know, basically makes it into a really fragile, unblockable. This guy was really crazy in pre-release. Our first rare is Kurkesh, Onaki Ancient. It's a legendary creature, one of the ones that I was talking about. It's an Ogre Spirit. Whenever you activate an ability of an artifact, if it isn't a mana ability, you may pay 1 red mana. If you do copy that ability, you may choose 2 new targets for the copy. So this guy helps you like multiply your burn. If you have a red deck that's structured around burn and artifacts and that cause stuff like that. But there's also a lot of other stuff you can do with that, I imagine. Actually, maybe there's not really that much. This guy was crazy in pre-release. Not that much burn. I don't know. Chief Engineer, this guy's good. Chief Engineer is 1 and a blue for a Vedalken Artificer. Artifact spells you cast have Convoke. So Convoke is a keyword that's, it's a keyword that's returned. I think it's, I can't remember, I think it was originally maybe in the first Ravnica block, but don't quote me on that. Your creatures can help you cast spells with Convoke. Each creature you tap while casting an artifact spell pays for 1 colorless mana or 1 mana of that creature's color, which is really good. There's cool. One of the cool interplays I could see with this. There's a artifact this set called Meteorite, and it's basically a mana rock that costs 5, and then when it comes into play, it deals 2 damage to target creature or player. So if you're able to get that guy out, or get that artifact out really soon, after having a Chief Engineer, you can Convoke for it, and then that makes that 5 a little less daunting to get. And then we have Foil Battle Mastery. Chief Engineer is good. Okay. Yeah, when I was thinking about Kurkesh, I was thinking about that Meteorite, but that's not an activated ability, so that doesn't work that way. So there's other stuff that is probably better for that. Aggressive Mining. This was one of the designer cards. So there's 3 in a red for a enchantment that says you can't play lands. You sacrifice a land to draw 2 cards. Activate this ability only once each turn. Designed by Marcus Pearson, and that's the dude who designed Minecraft, Notch. So he made that card. He was one of many designers that Wizards tapped into. Haha. They asked a bunch of designers to design cards for them. This was crazy in pre-release. Especially, I didn't actually see anybody who had this and a sliver hive, but that would have been absolutely nuts. I had this. He was pretty good. Belligerent Sliver. This is Expedition Stormtide Leviathan. It's an okay card. It's very highly costed, not aggressively costed for what it does, but for 8 mana with 3 blue mana in there, you can get a Leviathan. Has Island Walk. All lands or islands in addition to their other types. Creatures without flying or Island Walk can't attack. So that's supposed to be a game closer, which it should be at 8 mana. Alrighty. Tormod Script. Yeah, I'm like looking for. Well, this is an activated ability. I'm looking for stuff to use with my new Kirkish. Grind Clock. 2 mana for an artifact. If you tap it, you can put a charge counter on Grind Clock. And then if you pay a red mana and you have Kirkish out, you can put 2 charge counters on Grind Clock. Target player puts the top X cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard, where X is the number of charge counters on Grind Clock, and you can multiply that if you had Kirkish. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, Grind Clock is a good grinding or a milling card. Well, that would be weird to have a blue. It wouldn't be weird to have a blue mill deck. It would be weird to have a red mill deck with Kirkish and Grind Clock. But hey, what do I know? I can see a good card from free release. Triplicate Spirits. Alright. Phyrexian Revoker reprint. 2 mana for a horror artifact creature. As Phyrexian Revoker enters the battlefield, name a non-land card. Activated abilities of sources with the chosen name can't be activated. So he's like a sideboard type thing. You want to use him against stuff that's really causing you trouble. I also got a foil Blood Host. Okay, Card Chieftain is good. Life's Legacy, 1 and a green for a sorcery. As an additional cost to Life's Legacy, sacrifice a creature. Draw cards equal to the sacrificed creature's power. I don't know how I feel about that, but I mean, good card draw is awesome. Let me organize these a little bit more by color. I can see that working well in certain situations. I mean, if it's heavy creature, then that's amazing. Because everybody likes card draw. I suppose that's best. Well, it's a sorcery. See, that's why I'm hesitant about it. Is you can't use it as a combat trick, like block with a huge wall and then, you know, sacrifice it and draw cards. Like then it would be just crazy. But you have to do it before or after combat, which is a little less appealing. Goblin Kaboomist. I love the word Kaboomist already. 1 and a red. Creature, Goblin Warrior. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a colorless artifact token named Landmine onto the battlefield with the following text. Red, sacrifice this artifact. This artifact deals 2 damage to target attacking creature without flying. Then flip a coin. If you lose the flip, Goblin Kaboomist deals 2 damage to itself. So you could possibly blow himself up unless you do something like, you know, give him more health or give him protection from artifacts, I guess. So he's a very situational card, but he's cheap, so it's possible unless you get unlucky with that coin flip. This was crazy. I had 2 of these. They're good for getting out stuff earlier. Meteorite was good. Aether Spouts, 3 and 2 blue. For each attacking creature, its owner puts it on the top or bottom of his or her library. So that's really good. I mean, whichever it goes to, that's a pretty good roping effect. Willforge Golem foil. Llanowar Wastes. It's a green and black land, and whenever you tap it for green or black mana, it deals some damage to you. So that's the format for the dual lands from this set. Not as good as shock lands. Not bad. They don't come into play tapped. That's nice. Soul of New Phyrexia. This is a cycle in this set. There's a bunch of souls of different planes, and they all have basically the following format. So it's 6 mana. I think they're all 6 mana. It's an artifact creature avatar. They're all avatars, and it has a keyword. This one is trample, and then it has 2 abilities. One which you use while it's in play, and one which you use and then exile it. And then you can do the same in-play thing one more time from the graveyard. So 5 mana, activate 5 mana, permanents you control gain indestructible until end of turn. Or 5 mana, exile Soul of New Phyrexia from your graveyard, permanents you control gain indestructible until end of turn. So this is a pretty straightforward effect. Just blanket indestructible, and he can be used in any color deck. So he's pretty good. Hornet Queen, 4 and 3 green for an insect with flying and death touch. It's a 2/2. When Hornet Queen enters the battlefield, put 4 1/1 green insect creature tokens with flying and death touch onto the battlefield. She is annoying. She puts a bunch of death touch creatures out, and they have flying. So it's a good answer to a lot of stuff that works against green, because green doesn't get flying very much. So she's good at blocking flyers or doing damage herself. I mean, sorry about that, guys. I just realized that I had very little left for HD quality video on memory, so I had to delete a bunch of stuff. Anyways, like I was saying, Hornet Queen for 7 mana coming out as a 2/2 is not entirely an overwhelming threat, but she can stop a lot of flyers with her 4 death touch guys. So if you have a way of maybe flickering her, then you can get tons of death touch guys. Flicker, is that the right term? No, probably not. It's, you know, make her exiled and then come back into the battlefield. That's what I mean. Whatever the word is for that. Hornet Nest, along the same theme. 2 and a green for an insect creature. It has Defender. It's a 0/2. Whenever Hornet Nest is dealt damage, put that many 1/1 green insect creature tokens with flying and death touch onto the battlefield. So that would sort of go along with green getting some access to flyers that are somewhat defensive in nature, because 1/1s aren't that crazy, but you could always, I guess, burn your own Hornet Nest for a large amount and then flood the board, but that might be expensive. I don't know. Shield of the Avatar. For 1 colorless, you get an artifact that's an equipment. If a source would deal damage to equipped creature, prevent X of that damage, where X is the number of creatures you control. And that's equipped 2. Yeah, that seems kind of strong. I like that, because it's cheap. You could possibly equip it on turn 3, if not sooner, with ramp. And yeah, that's pretty cool. It's like a little buffer against all damage. because this is not even just combat damage, it's like any damage. So somebody tries to lightning bolt it, and it has, you know, if you have 3 creatures in play. Yes! Awesome! Some people in the comments have been like, boy, you don't act surprised or, you know, you're so calm when you open these awesome things. Alright, I'm not going to be calm. This is awesome, guys! Nissa World Waker. I love this. 3 and 2 green for a Planeswalker. The +1 ability is target land you control becomes a 4/4 elemental creature with trample. It's still a land. So what are the words that aren't appearing in that ability? Oh yeah, until end of turn. It just stays a 4/4 elemental creature with trample forever after that +1 ability. It's so good. And then for her second ability, -1. Oh no, wait, it's +1. Untap up to 4 target forests. So she may start at 3, but whatever she does, the first turn she comes into play, it's going to gain her and put her up to 4. Usually, she's going to be doing that target land you control card, because then it's like, you know, this gives me a little bit of extra leeway against things that are going to now attack her, because as soon as she comes into play, she's a threat. But that untap up to 4 target force is really crazy too, because, I mean, +4 mana after turn 5 to everything you do every turn. That's awesome. Then her -7 ability, search your library for any number of basic land cards, put them onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Those lands become 4/4 elemental creatures with trample. They're still lands. Again, that's not until the end of turn, that's forever. So you could put all your lands onto the battlefield that are left, and then they become 4/4 elemental creatures with trample. So she's pretty awesome. I'm very happy that I pulled her. I haven't gotten any black rares or white rares yet, so I'm due for that Ajani. I'm really hoping. That's the other new Planeswalker in the set is an Ajani, and I want it. But I have Nissa, so I'm part of the way there. Oh, there's also a new blue Planeswalker. It's another Jace, but he's not quite as cool. I'd still take him. Master Predicaments 3 and 2 blue for a Sphinx with flying. Whenever Master Predicaments deals combat damage to a player, choose a card in your hand. That player guesses whether the card's converted mana cost is greater than 4. If the player guessed wrong, you may cast the card without paying its mana cost. And that was designed by David Sirlin, whose name I recognize. I think he might be a video game designer. Yeah, I think so. I'm probably wrong. But anyways, this is cool. It's a cool card flavor-wise, because it's a Sphinx and you're asking the player, you know, a guessing game. I don't know how great it is. Oh wait, I didn't even go. Yeah, I went over what aggressive mining does, but I think aggressive mining, as far as the designer cards, is a bit more useful than Master Predicaments. Not to compare game designers, but this one is you can't play lands, sacrifice a land, draw 2 cards, activate this ability only once each turn. I read somewhere that they chose the one that he submitted multiple designs. They chose the one that was the most Minecrafty, and then they gave it this picture, which is all these blocks being removed from a quarry. But that one's cool because you know, red burn decks aren't really staying in the game for that long, so once you get up to a certain amount of lands, you don't care about playing your lands anymore. That's why cards like Goblin Rummager exist, because after you draw a certain amount of lands, you're really just trying to burn them to the ground. So aggressive mining is supposed to just draw you the cards that you need to close the game, rather than, you know, put tons of lands out. And because, you know, if you're playing a red burn deck, you don't care about putting more lands out. The Master Predicaments more depends on the opponent being dumb, which you can't depend on, I think. Indulgent Tormentor. Ooh, oh, awesome. We'll get to you. Indulgent Tormentor, 3 and 2 black for a demon. This was one of the pre-release promos. Flying. At the beginning of your upkeep, draw a card unless a target opponent sacrifices a creature or pays 3 life. He was obviously a beast in Limited. I faced him. I had the burn in hand to take care of him, luckily, but I'm glad that I did, because he's crazy. So at the beginning of your upkeep, draw a card unless... So you give them a pretty terrible choice. They either need to let you gain card advantage, and that over time gets really crazy, or they're just lightning bolting you, or you're losing creatures. It's kind of nuts. That's my first black. Black rare. Yay. And here's my first white rare. Preeminent Captain. This is a foil, so he's even prettier than normal. 2 and a white for a Kithkin Soldier with first strike, and he's 2/2, so that's not bad already. Whenever Preeminent Captain attacks, you may put a soldier creature card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. In certain decks, I can see this being really good. Yeah, I mean, I didn't face a lot of white decks, I'll be honest with you, in pre-release, so I don't know how much soldier stuff there is. I know that Raise the Alarm is in the deck. I mean, is in the set, but I don't. That wouldn't work because it's not a creature card. I'll be on the lookout for some soldier cards. That's a warrior, not a soldier. Waste Not. This one was designed by the Magic community. So 1 and a black for an enchantment that says whenever an opponent discards a creature card, put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield. So that's the creature themed discard thing. Whenever an opponent discards a land card, add 2 black mana to your mana pool. So if you have a discard deck, then it's kind of covering all corners of discarding. And whenever an opponent discards a non-creature, non-land card, draw a card. That's really good, especially because it's so aggressively costed. So that in a black control deck, I would imagine, anything that, whenever you're doing, usually one of the drawbacks of the discard mechanic is you're setting them back, but you're not really helping yourself, your board position. But with that, you are, because you're able to play more cards when they discard land, and you're able to draw cards and put creatures into play otherwise. So that's crazy. Siege Dragon. 5 and 2 red for a dragon with flying. This was a pre-release card. I had him. He's awesome. Whenever Siege Dragon enters the battlefield, destroy all walls your opponents control. Whenever Siege Dragon attacks, if defending player controls no walls, it deals 2 damage to each creature without flying that player controls, which is really good. Unless they have more walls to feed, then he's just a 5/5 flyer. But yeah, I didn't see anybody play walls because it's probably because of that guy and a bunch of other anti-wall effects that happen in this environment, the limited environment. Like those Wall of Fire, there's all sorts of walls. Wall of Essence, Wall of Limbs, Ob Nixilis, Unshackled. For 4 and 2 black, you get a legendary creature, Demon. Whenever an opponent searches his or her library, that player sacrifices a creature and loses 10 life. So you really don't want to search your library when this guy is out. Whenever another creature dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Ob Nixilis Unshackled. So, that guy is scary as heck, I would say. And then I got a foil Staff of the Wild Magus that we don't really care about. Sorry, that sounded harsh. I don't really like the staff stuff. It's kind of a waste of a card in your deck. I guess in certain limited formats. Even then, I don't know. Broodkeeper, Belligerent, Caves of Koilos. It's the black-white dual land. So we're past the halfway mark, so I should be just... I'm going to start seeing stuff that I've already seen. No, not in this case. Polymorphist's Jest. It's 1 and 2 blue. Instant until end of turn, each creature target player controls loses all abilities and becomes a blue frog with base power and toughness 1/1. Ouch. That's a Cruel Jest. That's like pretty much a removal spell because you wait until they block and then turn their humongous guys into 1/1s. Hushwing Gryph, 2 and a white for a Hippogriff with flash and flying. Creatures entering the battlefield don't cause abilities to trigger, which is good. You cast that in response to a really good ETB effect, and then this guy just shuts that down. So he's good. He's more of a sideboard card. You see whether they have stuff like that in their deck, and then he's a pretty good sideboard against anything, any creature that has a ETB effect. I hope that doesn't mean Thragtusk is coming back in a future set. I don't think so. There's another Waste Not. Shivan Reef. It's the blue-red dual land. Same deal. Deals you 1 damage every time you get a color mana from it. Mass Calcify, 5 and 2 white. Destroy all non-white creatures. Good in a lot of decks, not so good against white decks. It's like kind of the Wrath of God effects of this set. Which, you know, is a very limited Wrath of God effect. But it's cheap. Preeminent Captain again. I just got a dragon token, I like that. Pretty cool. Dragon's cool. That was pretty much, when I chose red, that was my my logic for choosing red in the pre-release. Dragons are cool. I'll do that. Sliverhive, really cool. So it's a land, add 1 to your mana pool. Add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Those are both tap abilities. Spend this mana only to cast a Sliver spell. For 5 and tap, put a 1/1 colorless Sliver creature token onto the battlefield. Activate this ability only if you control a Sliver. If the Sliver you control is that, what was that, Engulfing Sliver or something like that? That's not what it was, but there's a white Sliver that's like pretty highly costed. I think it's maybe 4 and a white or 5 and a white, and it basically is a Sliver O-ring that gives that ability to all other Slivers. So even if you're just putting out little 1/1 Sliver tokens, if they have that ability, you can like start exiling your opponent's entire field of creatures, which is awesome. Darksteel Citadel was reprinted. Oh, this one's cool. Obelisk of Erd. I'm kind of wondering about this one. So it's 6 mana, so it's pretty big, but it has Convoke. It's an artifact that reads, as Obelisk of Erd enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Creatures you control of the chosen type get +2/+2. So if you're able to do, if you have like that's pretty good with Slivers, I guess. It's also good in pretty much any other deck, like that Soldier deck with the Preeminent Captains and Raise the Alarms. And then another cool thing is if you have one of those decks, like one of these theme decks, you can put things like Ornithopters in play and get even more, because Ornithopters cost 0, you can use them as part of your mana base to put out Obelisk of Erd. And you just don't name, I forget what sort of creature type an Ornithopter is. I think a Thopter. You don't care about that. You care about getting the creatures out as soon as possible so that you can have that big banner effect with Obelisk on all your creatures. You can get some pretty beefy creatures out in play very soon. Necromancer's Stockpile. For 1 and a black, you get an enchantment that says 1 and a black, discard a creature card to do the draw a card. If the discarded card was a zombie card, put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield tapped. It's a pretty good deal actually, because you still get the creature. You just turn it into a black zombie. You get it for free. Well, not for free, but you draw a card and you get a black zombie for 2 mana and a card. That's pretty cool. I imagine that'll see play with stuff that wants creatures in the battle in the graveyard. Probably pretty good for like a dredge deck or something like that. Although I don't know enough about modern, just for you to quote me on that. Phyto Titan. This guy was probably the weakest of the pre-release cards. 4 and 2 green. When Phyto Titan dies, oh, he's a plant elemental. When a Phyto Titan dies, return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control at the beginning of his or her next upkeep. And he's a 7/2, so he's really easy to kill. I mean, he's within shock range right when he comes into play, and I don't know how much I like that guy, because yes, he's big, but I mean, he'd be a lot better if he came into the battlefield tapped under its owner's control at the end of the next end step, or at the beginning of your opponent's upkeep. Because he's tapped, it means that there's a dead turn where he could just die again. So yeah, I don't know, that one's not that impressive, but there might be some interactions that you can use with that I'm not seeing. Yes, awesome. This is exactly what I wanted. There's hardly any packs left. 3 and a white, a Johnny Steadfast. It's a Planeswalker, a Johnny. His +1 ability is, until end of turn, up to 1 target creature gets +1/+1 and gains first strike, vigilance, and lifelink. So that's good. Good. His -2 ability is put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control and a loyalty counter on each other planeswalker you control. You get okay, so that's a Super Friends deck ability. You want to put lots of planeswalkers. You want to, put Nissa into play. Nissa's guarding you. Ajani's pumping Nissa up so that she can use her -7 ability, and then just go off. So yeah, that's crazy, that -2 ability. You get for -7, you get an emblem with, if a source would deal damage to you or a planeswalker you control, prevent all but 1 of that damage. Which is, not to be ignored, except for the fact that I want to use that -2 ability. I don't know how, if I have the luxury of taking 7 counters off of a Johnny, I'm probably already winning. Because that -2 ability is just beastly. That is awesome. I'm really glad that I got a Johnny Steadfast. So I think I pretty much accomplished I've got all those legendary creatures that I was talking about. Got my 2 planeswalkers that I wanted, because they're the 2 ones that aren't reprints that are really good. Court of Calling, this card was really good. So for X and 3 green mana, you get an instant. It's Convoke. Your creatures can help you cast the spell. Each creature you tap while casting the spell pays for 1 or 1 mana of that creature's color. So that counts for the X stuff, obviously. Search your library for a creature card with converted mana cost X or less and put it onto the battlefield. Then shuffle your library. So this is an instant. This basically gives any creature flash. And it's an instant that makes a creature just cost 3 extra green, but you can convoke, so if you have a lot of creatures in play, that makes it really quick to do. And you just put it onto the battlefield. You go through your library for it, you put it onto the battlefield. So that's really strong. I would want to build a deck around something like that. Yeah, green didn't get a whole lot for limited, but like that card. You have my Coast. That's a blue-green dual land. I'm doing pretty good on dual lands too. Last pack, guys. Rounding the final turn here. Let's see what I got. Another Shield of the Avatar. Oh well, we'll just pretend our last pack was that of Johnny Steadfast. I'll go with that. Alright guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I did. I got the cards that I wanted. So what you should do is you should go to our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/untappedgames, and you should enter our contest. It's a free to enter. All you need to do is like the page just to be able to see the question, and then you go to the top of the page and we have a contest question, and just you only need to like it, the contest question, in order to enter. That's where the randomization happens, is based on the like, the names that are in the likes. And from the people who like the contest, we are going to choose 2, and each of them is going to get a booster box of 2015 core set. So that's this. I believe that's, what is that, 16 packs? Yeah, no, 36 divided by 2. Do math. So that's 15 plus 3, 18 packs. Great. Steve can do math. Yeah, so you get 18 packs of 2015 core set. So you should go do that. And let me know what you guys thought of this video in the comments. And as always, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. And I will see you guys in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.